had lost his wife, a prophecy that had now come true. On December 8th, as forensic analysis of his computer would later reveal, he searched the internet for places to launch a boat on San Francisco Bay, zeroing in on the Berkeley Marina and clicking on a map and driving instructions. He also accessed a real-time map of the direction and velocity of currents in the Central Bay, zooming in on a particular area near Brooks Island. Up until the morning of the trip, however, evidence now indicates that he was considering an even more forbidding destination, a place from which his wife and child would likely never have emerged. On the same day that he researched San Francisco Bay, he also searched the internet extensively for places to launch a boat directly into the Pacific Ocean. He was looking specifically for launch ramps south of the bay near the town of Watsonville. That was strange because Watsonville is not even on the coast. Then, just before logging off on December 8th, he zoomed in on a driving map to Moss Landing. No one commented on this part of his searching at trial, but it struck an alarm bell for me. Located about midway between Santa Cruz and Monterey, and the only coastal launching point near Watsonville, Moss Landing is the site of an astounding geological anomaly. Beginning just 100 yards offshore and extending 60 miles out to sea, the continental shelf drops away precipitously into a yawning underwater chasm, equivalent in size and scale to the Grand Canyon. Carved out over 20 million years by earthquakes and avalanche-like sediment flows, the Monterey Submarine Canyon plunges more than 2 miles below the ocean's surface at its greatest depth into a sunless abyss. Just a half-mile off the Moss Landing jetty, the water is already 200 meters deep. "You can scuba dive right over the mouth of the canyon, which is pretty creepy," says Lisa Borick of the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, located in Moss Landing. "Suddenly the sand disappears down a black hole." There is no deeper water as close to shore, easily accessible by boat, anywhere else in the continental United States than there is at Moss Landing. Scott could never have taken his small open boat into the ocean outside the Golden Gate, where huge amounts of water rushing in and out of the narrow mouth to San Francisco Bay create treacherous swells. But Moss Landing, at the center of the gently crescent-shaped Monterey Bay, is one of the most protected places along the coast. Gary Green, a marine biologist with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute and professor at the Moss Landing Marine Laboratories, an arm of the California State University system, believes that a weighted body dumped into Monterey Canyon would probably never be found. In addition to the sheer depth of the site, sand and other sediment that washes down the canyon tends to bury objects or carry them away. Half a dozen times over the last few years, scientific instruments set on the sea floor near the mouth of the canyon have been swept away, some never to be found again. A great number of predators, including great white sharks, also forage in the canyon. "This is one of the best studied canyons anywhere," says Green. "Researchers are going out all the time with remote-operated vehicles, but it would be serendipitous to find a body in the canyon. If it was the size of a whale, you might find it, but probably not a human, unless you were really looking and you went out right away, before it became fodder for other organisms or was buried or carried farther down the canyon." Before Scott left home on Christmas Eve morning, someone logged onto his computer at 8:40 a.m. using his logon and immediately checked the weather forecast for San Jose, the largest city south of the San Francisco Bay. Police believe Lacey was dead by then, but even if she were still alive at that time, she would have had no reason to check the weather outside Modesto, as she had no plans to leave town that day. This could only have been Scott, and the only reason he would have been concerned about the weather in the South Bay is that he was planning on driving in that direction. Afternoon rain was predicted for both San Jose and the Central Coast. Perhaps the forecast scared him off, or the longer drive, 2.5 hours each way, making it difficult for him to get back in time to find Lacey missing before their scheduled rendezvous with his in-laws. If he had dumped his wife's body at Moss Landing instead of in the San Francisco Bay, he might very well be a free man today. But Scott Peterson did not commit the perfect crime. No one ever does. He made mistakes and decisions that ultimately gave him away.